let's all go to court. Let's go make some law now. Yeah, 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 some law. Hey, you lawyer guys, you don't know me and Johnny are watching you while we're high. That felt really smooth.
So in the pocket.
So in that clip, we see two best friends from childhood, John and a teddy bear called Ted, watching one of their favorite shows, Law and Order. Thank you for watching Cody and Joey Reviews. I'm Joey.
I'm Cody.
And today we'll be reviewing Ted 2, rated R.
Alright, well, I think we should start in here. I have seen the original Ted, and I have also seen A Million Ways to Die in the West, and certainly I wouldn't call myself a fan of Seth MacFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy is smart, but every once in a while he sort of relies on a crux, and that is, for every one great joke that he tells, one that gets a genuine laugh out of me, he has three more that just rely on lowbrow potty humor. I mean, I'm just, you know, I like Ted. It's a cute little sort of stoner comedy film. But A Million Ways to Die in the West really showed that Seth MacFarlane just, maybe he's just not confident in his type of comedy or something like that, but definitely he relies too much on the potty humor in that movie. I would say this movie sort of falls somewhere in between there. So that's sort of my experience with it. You know, of course, I've seen Family Guy. I watched a little bit of American Dad, and I've skipped the Cleveland Show. It looks terrible. But what are your thoughts on Seth MacFarlane?
Well, you know, I've been a big fan of Family Guy when I was a little younger, and like one thing that I've noticed with Seth MacFarlane is that he's always kind of pushed the limits when it comes to comedy. Like he really gets into like controversial topics, and you know, it's like when you're watching either Family Guy or you know, like A Million Ways to Die in the West, but like you know, like whatever you watch with like a big group of people, everyone's kind of you know like feeling awkward at certain moments.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I've definitely always been a big Family Guy fan. American Dad, I would watch, you know, like an episode here and there, but I feel like, you know, the characters that Seth MacFarlane created in Family Guy have, you know, kind of like expanded in Ted. Because, like, when I saw Ted, I actually enjoyed the film quite a bit. I thought it was funny, and of course, some parts definitely pushed it maybe too far. But Ted is basically like Peter Griffin. If you hear the voices, they sound almost exactly the same. And in that first one, you had Mila Kunis as well, who also played Meg in Family Guy.
Yeah.
So it, you know, and like one thing that I do like about Seth MacFarlane is that he's very theatrical when he does his movies or like his TV shows. So despite being like you know a comedy film, like he kind of keeps the themes of like maybe like the 1960s and that like showy kind of you know glorified setting of the films.
Yeah, I definitely felt it in here with that opening dance sequence. That was totally like 1940s sort of Gene Kelly type of...
Gene Kelly, absolutely.
Yeah, I got a strong Gene Kelly vibe, just like tap dancing all the time. But yeah, you say, you know, you like Family Guy. I got a lot of Family Guy in this. There was a lot of sort of tangents, I would call it, where there wasn't really plot going along. It was just sort of skits, like... oh, we're going to have a skit where we're going to go to Tom Brady's house. We have a skit where we're going to get, you know, high in a library and dance around in a little sequence, you know. We're going to have Ted sort of talking on his cell phone and driving around. Yeah, it definitely felt a lot like Family Guy, and in a way it's sort of the reason I stopped watching Family Guy, because they would just go too back and forth between the skits, and it just seemed sort of unfocused, and definitely, the first Ted was very focused and knew what it was doing. A Million Ways to Die in the West felt less focused. It still had some coherence to it. But this movie, I do feel like, at least for the first half of the film, had no real aim to it. It wasn't until they bring up the main plot of the movie, which is Ted's, you know, rights as being a human, which is sort of a weird topic for a stoner comedy.
Definitely.
But until then, it just seemed scattered, and I didn't really know where the movie was going. So
yeah, and you know, like when I saw A Million Ways to Die in the West last year, that was probably my least favorite work from Seth MacFarlane. And, you know, and like, I don't think that it was because it was his first time acting, you know, maybe like acting, you know, with like live action wasn't his strongest suit, But I thought that just there was it did rely too much on potty humor.
Mm.
And while there was a decent story kind of revolved around it, I feel like he really should have done more work with the jokes. But with Ted 2, I feel like he did a better job at making me laugh. And that, I mean, and whenever we go to comedy films, like we want to laugh, and I feel like that this film accomplished that goal for me. But I think, like you said, with Family Guy, how it kind of cuts together a bunch of skits, I felt like this was also similar in that regard, that you put together a bunch of skits, and there was kind of like a big political story with being a person and stuff, and I think that we could relate to civil rights and in this era now.
Yeah, the recent Supreme Court ruling. I don't want to get too political into this. We're talking about movies,
Right.
but of course, the Supreme Court decision on gay marriage. Obviously, it's playing into that a little bit. But yeah, you mentioned Mila Kunis, whose character's entirely taken out of here. I'm sort of wondering if there was sort of a falling out between him and Seth MacFarlane. I'm not sure what the state of Family Guy is right now. I haven't watched it in years, but all of a sudden, Mila Kunis' character is gone. No real explanation as to what happened, why they're split up, and they don't even mention her name in this movie, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Seth MacFarlane has sort of resentment towards Mila Kunis.
Who knows? Possibly.
Yeah, but definitely, I guess if I had to rate this movie, I don't know. It's alright, I guess. I felt like there were times where Seth MacFarlane was pushing it too far.
Absolutely.
Certainly with the Robin Williams joke.
Yeah,
I wasn't really to jump on to that. Like, I remember having a real gut reaction to that, like, ooh, maybe that's a joke that you shouldn't have told, and obviously they make a Bill Cosby joke, which that actually got a good chuckle out of me, because it's like, what celebrity would work at a Starbucks? Bill Cosby. Like, I thought that was funny, but yeah, certainly. And then there was a whole sequence at the sperm bank, and I thought, that's just you relying on potty humor. But definitely, I guess there is a certain audience out here, and I know a lot of people who are going to watch this review have gone and seen Ted 2, and they like it. Personally, I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but I don't feel necessarily that I want to go back and rewatch it. It's certainly an unnecessary tangent, but it does have a lot of fun moments, and there is an audience for it. Unfortunately, it's not me. So I guess I would have to rate it, mainly for you, the listeners, 3 out of 5 stars, because it wasn't too insulting. And like I said, there are general funny moments in this, but overall it just falls short. And I do feel like Seth MacFarlane has a great comedy coming out of him soon. He just needs to get rid of that crux. And I think we'll have a really classic film on our hands.
Yeah, I definitely liked this film more than A Million Ways to Die in the West. I thought that he really took a little bit more time, in this, with this film to make some really funny jokes. I mean, we got a couple of cameos with Liam Neeson. I mean, that scene was so funny.
That was great. Playing on his Taken fame, I love that cameo. Go see the movie just for that cameo.
Yeah, and there is there is maybe 2 or 3 other ones that genuinely had me laughing, and I don't want to give them away. So, this film made me laugh. It's probably not a film that I've watched 100 times, but it kind of reminded me of Family Guy, and it almost felt like I was watching a live action version of Family Guy.
Another episode.
Yeah, so if you're into Seth MacFarlane, if you're into Family Guy, I think you'll enjoy this movie, and I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars.
All right, well, thank you for joining us with Cody and Joey Reviews.
And stay tuned.